Hello, welcome to the Glasstire Top 5. It's the week of August 18th, 2016. I'm Rainey Knudson.
And I'm Brandon Zech. Number 5 is Gabriel Daw, so it's kind of a twofer. Gabriel Daw right now is in a show at the Amarillo Museum of Art called Side by Side. It's a big plexus
One of his
string
plexus rainbow string installations.
by
yes.
Gabriel Daw, and a bunch of works by Larry Bell, the great minimalist.
The great Southern Californian light and space artist. So
Yeah, so that's happening, and that's through October, but also Daw just completed an installation at the Amon Carter Museum in Fort Worth. So that's plexus number 34.
Okay, he's up to 34 of these
34.
Now. Wow.
But the idea of this is it's going to be highlighting all of the Philip Johnson features of the Amon Carter building.
Of that back atrium and the extension that they built a few years ago.
Yeah.
So, and I think this is in their series of their commissioning works for that space. And so last year it was
Esther Pearl Watson.
So now it's Gabriel Daw. Number 4, Hellbox.
Hellbox. Formerly She Works Flexible, formerly the Brandon, formerly Domi, formerly
Mixture. So yeah, the space next to the Brazil Cafe in Houston. Cody Ledvina, who ran the Brandon and before that the Joanna, has been in London, and he's back just for this show. But he discovered this guy, Bob Parks, who is a British artist, I think he's in his late 60s for sure. And he spent some time in LA. As Cody said, he sort of never quite made it out there and returned to England. And apparently makes big paintings, but all the works in this show, I think, are stuff that honestly Cody could fit in a suitcase. A really strong show, beautiful drawings, notable for the drawings, including one very memorable series about the artist's father's catheter in the hospital. Also notable in this show is a photograph that either inspired The Big Lebowski or The Big Lebowski inspired this action. It is the Maud Lebowski flying in the harness, naked painting scene, and it's the artist Bob Parks in a harness with all these guys in black, holding the pulleys, holding them up. I think actually when you enter an MFA program, they give you your 5 minions whose job it is to lift you.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's why it's gotten so expensive.
So number 3 this week is This Was Contemporary Art at the Heritage Society in Houston. So this show is inspired by This Is Contemporary Art, which was the first show of the Contemporary Arts Museum Houston. So, this was.
It was contemporary. It's definitely not anymore.
It's work that was made between 1945 and 1965 in Houston. Paintings by David Addix, Dorothy Hood, Frank Fried, Bill Condon has a great skyline painting of Houston from the early 60s. Some great drawings and paintings by John Biggers. So it's this great show, and it's organized in collaboration with the Heritage Society with the Center for Advancement of Early Texas Art.
Casetta.
They're doing something really great, and nowhere really shows this work right now.
Number 2. Should I sing it?
Sing it.
Right here, right now. There ain't no one, la 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 la. Number 2, Right Here, Right Now at the CAM. Number 2, this is the second of their Right Here, Right Now series, where each, the 2 curators and the curator/director pick a Houston artist, and they give them a little solo show within the museum. So this iteration is Thedra Cooler-Ledford and Amy Blakemore and Susie Rosemarin. And I'm really, really excited to see Susie's show because I think it's like a mini retrospective. And Susie, as some people probably don't know, was one of these Texas artists in the 90s who were really pushing abstraction and trying to kind of rigorously work within abstraction.
And there's going to be a bunch of programming throughout. So there's an artist talk with Thedra on Saturday. There's going to be artist talks with Amy and Susie coming up in the future. So it's just kind of something to look out for. So number 1 at the Harry Ransom Center, it's a show by the photographer Elliott Erwitt.
Yeah, I had never heard of him, but I definitely know his photography. There's a famous image of a couple in a rearview mirror with the ocean out front. There's very iconic images of Jackie Kennedy at the JFK funeral. There's the famous one of Nixon with his finger in Khrushchev's chest. And Erwitt was a Russian immigrant whose family fled Europe at the start of World War II, and he ended up in LA, actually. And so I think there's a real LA sensibility. Clearly a very, very funny and charming person. I mean, what was most fun about poking around looking at his images were these just very wry and humorous observations of regular people in everyday life.
The Ransom Center actually bought Erwitt's archive essentially in 2015, and this
He
show
was a Magnum photographer, so.
This show is really pulling from that archive. There's going to be over 200 images in the show, but the archive was over 47,000. I'm not saying that wrong. 47,500 images.
And it's August, but there's stuff to see, so go see it.
Go see some art.